welcome to the first installment of Shawn&Maya On The Move, where we take our show from the studio to the streets. We've been talking about this for a while. As you know, there's more sport talk that happens inside, the X's and the O's, what happens on the ice, the field, the court, and we like to engage in those conversations, and we figure what better way to do it than to have the remote and take it out to the public. So this is our first installment, opposed to being Shawn and Maya in the morning. Instead,
Today's our first installment, as she said. So we're at Output Mountain Sports Bar, right in the corner of Brandon Wood, 1758 West Grand Avenue in Chicago, in the beautiful neighborhood of West Town, right down the street from the United Center. And we had Ozzie Gabe Jr. on a few weeks ago, right after the World Series. And he brought up some pretty interesting points. So he said, that would be a phenomenal remote idea.
Actually, fascinating. Idea. I was always told get your credit, so I'm taking my credit for this one.
Okay, so Maya said it'd be a great idea. Guess what? She was right. It's her idea at Output Mountain Sports Bar. I want to say a big shout out to my guy Eddie Gonzalez, who joined and who allowed us the space. If you haven't been here, let me tell you, this is one of the best wings in Chicago, hands down. 3 of the last 6 years, they've taken first or second place for the hot wings at Wingfest. And 4 of the last 6 years, they've taken first or second place for the sweet and spicy. So, and they're the back-to-back, three-time defending champion at Wing Out. So the people's champion at Wing Out. So you know what? This is a spot for wings. If you want to go, come on wings, you better come down to 1758 West Grand, right on the corner of Brandon Wood, West Town, right down the street.
All right. So with that being said, as we kick off our first installment, so Ozzie, when you came on the show, it was like after the World Series, the Red Sox were the 5th World Series. Okay. Right? Total. So, we were having this conversation about going into the World Series, knowing that it was the Dodgers and it was the Red Sox. The conversation has to be going into the fact that it's the first time historically, and you always have to talk about first, you can't get away from it, that you would have 2 minority managers in the World Series. Dave, who coaches the Dodgers, is actually Japanese and African American. So, interesting enough, though that was brought up, I don't think it was openly stated. And it might have been, I know that Dave Roberts, when I heard some interviews with him, he's not really one to talk much about race. But he did say he understood the implications of this historic matchup between the 2 of them. But beyond that, there was really no conversation about it. So when you came into the studio to talk about it, called in, it was interesting because you gave insight that I never really had thought about. Tell us first the whole story about Alex Cora, who was his first year manager.
Well, guys, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. This is really awesome, great place. But Alex's story is a very unique story. It's a story that was planned out. People don't know the relationship that Ozzie and Alex have had from when Alex started playing volleyball because we enjoyed being Ozzie's teammate. But I own part of a company called TC Entertainment. And Alex Pro, we were actually in spring training in West Palm Beach. We were actually at the stadium the day that Alex got released. Myself, my brother, my partner. Alex gets released. We're on the drive home. Talk to Alex. He's like, I don't know what to do with my career. And obviously, we represent talent. We said, Alex, you're great for TV. He said, I don't know. I was like, what's your final goal? What would you like to do later in life? Obviously, management, marketing, and then we started selling, obviously, and being on TV would open up to a bigger audience outside of Boston. And it worked perfect. Alex went on TV, worked for ESPN Baseball Tonight for 4 years. Then that got him the coaching job, the bench coach job in Houston, and then Alex comes over into the Red Sox and wins. And Alex has always known that. Most people don't know that Alex would have been the second Latino manager to ever go to a World Series. So the last 2 that have gone, both won. Obviously Ozzie, now Alex, so it's all the GMs. 2 for 2. And that's something that's funny because people are like, oh, Latino, like someone that just comes from a Latino background. Technically, I wouldn't count for in the United States, but Alex and Ozzie were both 2 only managers who were born outside of the United States to ever win a World Series. And that was very interesting. That's where the conversation started on minorities and how they fit in the game.
So one of the things, give it a quick synopsis. Some people realize, but not a lot of people realize, minorities have been in the game for a long time. We're talking back to Tom Mayer, Shaw, from they've been in baseball for a long time. It's not just something new. They've been here. They've been a big part of baseball, a big part of baseball history.
Well, I think after Doubleday in baseball, I think minorities really stopped. People don't realize it. It's something that in the United States, a lot of people ignore. It's okay because they're not fans of the game. But for me, Jackie Robinson is a huge thing in baseball. And the fact that 42 is retired is amazing because of Jackie, Latino players can play today. Because of Jackie, my dad played for Major League Baseball. I was just managing the Major League Baseball. So people don't realize that there was a time and place where men of color did not play Major League Baseball. It's very like, you know, people think it's like light years away, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you watched the movies and I'm sure maybe you've read some books, but it was a big deal because it didn't mean that they didn't play. So there was Latino leagues, and then there was African American Negro leagues, and then the Negroes would go to Cuba and the Caribbean League, and that's where winter ball comes from. Because I all these talented players that were in the Negro leagues would play winter ball, so the winter league was even better. So there's players, stories of white players kind of playing winter ball. It was like the first kind of actual ball integration, and actually learned that in Kansas City at the Negro League Museum, when everybody should go there with a baseball fan. This is the history of the game. But people don't realize how far back it goes. And there was a time and place when you played. So I think that being said, I think that when you have two managers of minority descent in the first World Series ever, managing against one another, I think it's new. And I think it's funny because unless you're a person of color, my wife is not a person of color, and sometimes like, how come they everything's such a big deal? Like, I'm the first of this. I said, well, because it is a big deal. You know, a lot of people don't want to mention it or bring it up. It is a big deal. You know, somebody put on Twitter, let it go. I said, well, why would I let it go if it was the first match? We still celebrate the man. And I don't even know if that happened.
Thank you.
That's for our podcast.
Yes, right. That's for our podcast.
Yeah, but so when people say we celebrate a first, and I think it's such a big deal in the Latino community, like right now, like, for example, Andrew Hart not getting the Rookie of the Year. I got on Twitter and I said, they robbed us again, meaning the Latino people. They picked Ohtani because he was a better marketing. And again, Ohtani had numbers for this season, but in my opinion, from the history of what I've seen in the game, Ohtani is a better pick for Major League Baseball. It is what it is. But again, I think that history-wise, I think that most people in the game don't realize how much baseball and the United States both resemble each other on changes that have happened throughout history. So people don't realize when they say, for example, Kenny Williams, general manager. Well, we have one general manager, yeah, just one right now, of color. So like, it's not like you have 5 or 6 when you start looking at the percentages, much the game has changed. In certain levels of positions, you don't still have them of color for women. Yeah, for a while.
It's not happening.
Well, that's something we can talk about afterwards.
That's a whole nother, yes.
Well, because it's funny you mentioned that, because if you're going to go, and this is something that I believe very, very in my heart, huge opportunity for women to be in baseball. This is why. So, 20 years ago, you could not become a Major League manager, scout, unless you played baseball at a certain level. So if you didn't play Major League Baseball, you couldn't coach it in baseball. You coached in college, you played college, you can coach college. That's not the story anymore. There's guys in the big leagues that have never even had a big league at bat being anything. So if a girl plays high school baseball, or a girl plays college baseball, as any baseball in her resume, if she is qualified to be a coach, you're just as qualified as that other guy that didn't play baseball. So if that's going to be your excuse of saying we're going a different route and we want analytical people, I hope that there's women out there who are very, very analytical and should be getting open jobs in the future. So it's a double-edged sword. You're going to start one group, but then you're going to have to open it to the other.
Yeah, so you know what there's going to be? There's going to be that woman who's a StatCast girl or a table metrics girl, and that particular one will be set.
Exactly.
I think it's about time. It starts when you look at the girls that are making parents. That's kind of the first start. Now, kind of getting beyond that, I mean, playing co-ed baseball is an interesting experience. I played baseball as well, and none of the boys liked it, and the coach didn't like it. So it's just something that's not very welcoming. But if they're going to be flexible in regards to criteria, then I think that's different than the work.
My daughter.
I think it's a process.
I'll give you an example. My daughter, 21 years. My daughter's seen more baseball games than she's seen another cartoon. It's on 24/7 in house. So she's going to be around brothers. Her dad plays, I go on baseball. Her grandfather's been in the game for 40 years. We're huge analytical people. So all that being around her, she loves it because the sport becomes a PhD in statistics. Plus the game of baseball. Why couldn't she be a broadcaster? Why couldn't she be, a general manager female? So that's where the game changes. Of like when you close one door, and that's the door I think right now is the hardest for minorities, especially specifically like because you're asking for college degrees and asking for things that it's not typically in our college. For example, Alex Cora is one person, but Alex Cora could learn how to it's part of the system. So then you kind of exclude guys like, down the road, it's very hard to sit there for a team and great hitter, not an educational background.
So, as we know, there was the recent announcements about
Yeah.
So, to surprise, how did you feel about Alex not being named? Not even Cole, because there's been ones, I think, in 96, there were Cole managers, but not being named manager of the year, considering what he achieved in being a first-year manager, having the most franchise wins for the Red Sox. Instead, it goes to someone else who, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the accomplishment is not there. I'm not saying that, but I think it's just kind of odd that not Cole, and even the votes, there was a little bit of despair.
Yeah, and I think that I jumped on that conclusion right away, tweeted it, and I apologized for it. Jesse Rogers brought it up, so I remember that the voting happens on October 1st. They didn't know if Alex was going to go too. So then I came back with a reply and said, man, so that means they voted for Ozzy before he won the World Series. So Ozzy would have been the World Series manager of the year if the White Sox won the World Series. So that was very impressive, just on his timeline, because I didn't know that. So I think that on that view, I think that I was surprised they didn't get more votes to be in the top, because I think that even though to all the managers that they all deserved it, I think that even though Alex, this is funny about David Roberts and Alex, they're not giving credit that they deserve because their teams are good. Hey, so if Alex would have lost and this team was not getting to the playoff, I guarantee you that Alex is fine. And the opportunities when they are there for minority managers and general managers, what he says about this, about the stats, it's very hard to have a long usually a play of a manager or general manager, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chances. So for example, Ron Washington, and don't even have to talk about Ozzy, because people say, oh, you're Ozzy. Let's not talk about Ozzy. Let's talk about Tony Payne or Manny Acta. Let's talk about Ron Washington. The guy's 2 outs away from being a World Series champion. The guy can't, he's coaching somewhere. So that's the part that, again, the game is changing. You can argue all that, but I like that Alex, I give him credit, because even though statistically they were very smart and they put the team together, there's 25 guys in that roster. And there's a lot of superstars there. And the way that those superstars, he got into believing in he's going to become manager. Same thing with David Roberts. I think that them being the 2 guys there, I think they did a great job. People lost with what they thought would work. When people don't get that, if you're managing people on an everyday basis and I those guys are respecting you, that in itself should be a part.
Well, for me, it was just
Yes.
one. Now, that was his 3rd win for management. So I'm like, okay, so my thing is, he's not really. No, this is not his first rodeo, and that's why. And even though he got like 22 wins over, obviously the record from last season, I'm like, but he's not new to this. And I think what needs to be put in consideration is, like you just said, Alex, regardless of what the roster was, he still had to go in there and orchestrate everything. He still had, like you said, manage equals, make the right substitutions, do all these things, put together like batting orders. All these things matter, and he managed to do it and do it very succinctly from pillar to post the entire season. So for him not to get it for me, and I'm not just being biased about it, to me I think he legitimately earned it. Because I know the voting goes in the World Series, but still technically based on accomplishments. He set a franchise record, not just did better than the season before, but did a franchise record for the organization. By that, we could look at it as one of those very historic ones.
You know what? I think that people don't realize. So there's different levels of watching baseball, and obviously I wish I watched baseball like I watched sometimes football, even soccer, or basketball. Maybe I call it like I watch the Bears, like you should be making that pass. That's a different talk. I'm like that crazy white. Baseball I watch so I'm a meathead fan. You should fire the kickers, and it's like this guy's got a family. So I'm that guy. I'm that guy with other like baseball. It's a business. It's something that I analyze, something that I respect. Alex didn't have a very good pitching season. that roster's amazing. That roster's that good. You know, you got the Kenny Rivera situation. You got a third baseman that's not able to get there. Brazil gets hurt in the middle of the season. You got there's two catchers. Those are all moves that Alex made. The part that's funny is in baseball is no secrets in baseball pretty much. It's like kind of funny because you know what's going on. Local athletics, you know there's a lot of rules that can be fired. It didn't matter who was in. It's all these articles. It caused really big things. There's like a joke that Billy has a phone. I don't know if this is true or not, people. This is what people in Oakland are always talking about. That Billy has a phone. Billy calls and we saw the movie Moneyball, and he's telling guys what to do. So is Bob the manager or is Billy the manager? So that's a part that when you're going on analytics, you're gonna give it to the manager. When you're the guys that say analytics don't matter what the manager's there. So it's like a back and forth. So that this point of the respect guys are in analytics. But it's funny when someone talks to them, I'm an analytics expert. I'm like, oh, this is. Oh no. Oh, you write code? Oh no, I don't. So I'm like, so you're just like where you get expert from. You're like me, you read a bunch of books, you understand it, that's great. But until you have a PhD, and that's like Bill James and I see Bill James. My idols, Bill can drop us around. Like I would love to see Bill James in an interview with the management team. Okay, this is what you can do. Go ahead and be a James. So again, that's the part of the game. You get into so many things like that. Like you can have like 10 episodes like the Russell and like mess around. Like, get him off the team. I'm like, if they would have had Baez struggling, they needed a shortstop, he would have been playing. So don't kind of just hide more of them. And go ahead. Again, that's baseball. That's just in life. You guys go back and forth.
So let's talk about the other side of it. So Ryan because that's what it sounds like. So he wins, obviously. He's the man for the Braves. By the way, I thought he had a very impressive season. They are a really good club. But to the amazement of others, the council did not get for the Brewers. And I subscribe to the theory that a lot of people did not particularly care for how the council did certain things. They didn't feel he was traditional as a person. A lot of people didn't like, he did this setup picture from one batter and then went to the start. A lot of people came on the show traditional and like, well, you know what, this is baseball. And I think part of the voting part of it, people that happened during the playoffs. But I just think because Milwaukee was so unconventional in their approach, whereas our third is over very well. I just think there was something about Craig Counsell that didn't really.
You know what? I think that Craig Counsell has to be stuck with start doing things like, bringing in a guy and not using. You have to start using skill sets and you have the horses to run the race. You need to find other ways, and he did a great job of that. I think that for the people that don't know baseball that much, the one who probably that know what I mean, I ain't probably going to because it didn't really agree. This came out late. Good prospects already came and had a good manager. Again, it wasn't a good manager. I think he was probably a harder place to manage. I think that I gave it to the Braves because when you look at the Brewers team, I think, for example, that Milwaukee gets into the playoffs all the way back in October, November before when they trade for Christian Yelich. And the Yankees get out. If the Yankees get Christian Yelich, I don't think Alex might be able to do it. Yes, I think that Stanton and Osuna, those three outfielders. And I think the team right this season was we'll see we'll see what happens the other two. Like if you're saying it was a win, it doesn't matter. Eventually this season right after the year. And another guy that comes with me, yeah, City World.
Yeah.
KC,
baby. KC.
They got Lorenzo Payne, who's a guy who's a guy that plays really well on the analytics side, on the hard side, has any skill he can put across. He's a great player, so I think he got two studs that people really help out, and I think that really brings it down.
No, I hope that Milwaukee gets a great offseason move. That was good. I like how they played all season long, so I have no problem with the practice of being in it or where to go. I thought it was respectful.
The way it works, was going to walk these songs again. When they got beat on St. Louis for a couple of days and fell all the way down to third, I'm like, okay, they might be that. Maya kept saying, watch St. Louis, they're going to come back. I'm like, no, they're not St. Louis. And just a second, then all of a sudden Milwaukee becomes them again, and that was the end of the day. Milwaukee just had a phenomenal season. They finished super strong at the end of the season. And people are talking about other things. And, Joe Madden's job is in jeopardy because of what the Brewers did. I'm like, he won. Joe Madden won 95 games, 2 more than last year. Okay, the Brewers just finished. I think they lost like the last 17 weeks of the season. It was just crazy. It was unbelievable how hot the Brewers got. And to me, that's why I was like, you know what? That's why I wanted to.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that when you're in Chicago, I went to the Cubs game the last 2 weeks. I had friends in Milwaukee. They played the Pirates. I had friends last week, like the last week of the season. I had tickets that whole series. I had friends on all the teams that were playing. But I kept saying that there's no way that they have to win every single game. Pretty much mathematics. And when people say it, and I hate it, White Sox fans say, oh, you give too much love to the Cubs fans and vice versa. Joe Madden didn't lose the playoffs. He just got beat by a team that got hotter at a time that you can talk about the moves that they made. I don't think Joe lost the pennant. He got beat.
Thank you. Because for some reason there is this mindset in Chicago that nobody can be as good as the Cubs. And I'm talking about Major League Baseball. Shawn and I go about this all the time. And I said, I don't just watch Chicago, I just watch baseball in general. And rather people realize that every player is a household name, but it doesn't mean they're still not a good team. But because you know the players here, you assume that Ryan's exceptional. You assume that Rizzo is exceptional. But if you watch enough baseball, you realize there are people equally as good around Major League Baseball. But there seems to be this idea that nobody can seem to catch up to them, or if they don't win something, it's because they just failed to have a down season. It wasn't that somebody actually was good enough to be there.
Well, that's a story with the team on the other side of town, the White Sox. Everyone's like, this rebuild. I'm like, you guys realize that everyone else is building too. So like the best thing that happened, like the worst thing that happened to the White Sox, what Cleveland is actually doing, is they're not buying into the veterans. They're like getting rid of guys big contracts and bringing some new blood. That's horrible for the White Sox because these guys are like, they're staying on top of the game. They're not sitting on the laurels like the Tigers did. And it's a division of everyone rebuilding. So I think, when you analyze, there was a lot of holes for the Cubs in the sense of like, Ryan was hurt the whole time that he came back. He had it in the face. I think for some reason his shoulder didn't come back. He didn't see himself. Baez basically carried the team. The team didn't. The garbage problem and a lot of things happened to Joe. I think Joe managed better this year than he did the year that he won the World Series.
Oh yeah.
I think manager won. I think inside moves and everything that he did. I think he had to do a lot of more things. And it's funny when I say that when I looked at the best year you saw Ozzie being manager. I said 2007, 2008, 2011. Well, not 2005. I think the 2005 he was so good. But he just had to deal with like more personalities and management. Like you being management, you have less than the other management.
Yeah, when you make moves like that, speaking of Joe Madden, think about look at all the creative side of the business and put out garbage, $1 million. So this is a big part of your rotation that's not productive. That kind of jack, I call it crossing. He's walking everybody. Okay, you got 40% of your rotation, of your starting rotation, he's got off. So you had a patchwork, you had Mike Montgomery, and then they want to win. They found like he's a bottom of the momentum. I mean, he was a World Series MVP, so not like he's not used to playing, but he was horrible from Texas. He was on afterthought. Hopefully something with him, and they got the most out of him. So, Joe Madden with the bullpen time got off. Stroke was hurt. Stroke wasn't performing. Carl Edwards Jr. wasn't performing. Carl Edwards Jr. did what they did. But 1, 2, 3 sometimes he gets a little emotional. He didn't feel all that, and then didn't have the hands muscle issues. Wow. All these things, Anthony Rizzo not still in the 95 year period, despite the fact that they had 40 games, most one run with no runs scored. They did baseball, he still had that five. That's a phenomenal man.
When you're the other thing, the whole thing with the coaching staff, I like coaching staff. I like teams. They have a lot of things. I cannot wait for if you're a would be a player. I'd be funny because I'll put it on myself. Because at one point, you know, so looking around, Ozzy was last week. This dude joke. I'm like, how many guys did you find? This guy five. You know, that's what as a player, you put a lot of bad White Sox teams. We tried hard, but we weren't good. We got this guy hacked. You know, so it's just the reality of it. It's just at some point you take responsibility. I just feel bad because it's called the cycle of life in baseball. In Chicago sports. And Mike Ditka gave Ozzy that advice. Ozzy, you know, 04 he came, exciting, and Mike said, don't wait too quick. Like expectations be high. And then Ozzy did. He's run right away. And then after that, he said they're gonna like you, and then they're gonna hate you, and they're gonna hate you a lot, and even more. And now they love him again. He walks around everywhere. Ozzy, when we coming back, when we managing, it's just like Coach. And we see Coach is like 100 years old. They see him still. We go to the racetrack every Arlington Hill. Coach, when you coming back to the Mariners? I was like, Coach just took like an hour to walk down. Like, but that's a shame. So I think that's a reality. So seeing it, and we saw it with Quinville, and we're seeing it with Joe. Of like, man, like Joe. I remember the time when they'd be like, get us to the World Series. Yeah. You know, and then they got him there, and then, you know, like with Dusty, like Dusty was 6 hours away. So like, it wasn't that bad. Like, he wasn't like great, but he was pretty close. So with Joe, and I love it when they say, well, Joe won the World Series, besides the fact that he wanted to ruin it. Like, you need to decide the fact that he wanted to ruin it. Like,
we almost lost it for
yeah, we almost lost it. Like, it's just crazy the fact that they think, because I've heard the rumors of who the next manager is going to be. I can say it. I heard David Ross could be the manager.
What?
But like I've heard rumors.
That wasn't even on my radar.
I'm just saying Twitter. David Ross, Twitter, number one. And I hate that. And I said it in the show before. I hate when there's a sitting manager and start getting all these crazy rumors. Like when Ozzy left, who's going to be the White Sox manager? Put Convertible on. When I AJ Brzezinski, put AJ on.
No.
Those are things that it's okay if they get it, they deserve it. But when I see someone like Joe Madden managing job, like we like at least give me some go to party.
There you go.
I'm saying, like,
and there you go.
Well, at least if I'm gonna be, if people are gonna talk about me getting fired, I would be like, well, at least fire me for someone that's like as good or better.
Don't get me wrong, but that's people being cool.
Also, it's a contract issue too. That's not talking about like guys who are making $800,000 as managers.
Let me ask you this though. So let's talk about Joe in the sense that, to me, you stick with people that you live with. So obviously he had his World Series, his management team, and the fact that he decided to make changes, like for instance, G. Davis will forever be the conversation. And I mean, obviously, if you look at his track record when he came out of Boston, he was trying to manipulate things there in regards to hitting the work. The minute he leaves, it like springs open and it works. Okay, but for whatever reason, Joe brings him here. It's interesting because you have some people on the team that are thriving. I mean, Javi Baez had an amazing season. Hayward was fine. Plenty of people, there were plenty of people on the team that did fine, except for what I feel are the people that are looked at as being, I guess you could say, the face of the franchise. So because Rizzo and Bryant struggled, I honestly believe that dictates the organization that G. Davis was the lead. But then I'm saying, well, look at all the people who actually still did good on the team. And I still personally feel that Javi Baez did not get the credit he should for what he's done for this team that season.
Oh, there's the Davis situation, hitting coaches is the worst job in baseball to have. Because it's about philosophy, right? I think guys, this point is Rizzo. I think one of the Rizzo fights and everybody says otherwise. For hitting coaches, I'm not going to say Joe got rid of it. That's the front office. Sometimes coaches, the front office guys don't like like how much better can you get? Like from being that we got rid of Ozzy's coaching staff, we wanted to fire coaches. We had like 5 coaches, like Rock, we had Santana, guys that we fired again. Not by Ozzy, but that's organization rules. So I knew that the pitching coach, I knew that it was a pitching coach was coming there, and I think the team, just because the team did so bad offensively, was watching the pitching, but the pitching did worse than the year before.
Yes.
And you can say that, the Cardinals did more well. So I think coaching wise, why would he do that? Because in that time, all the big boys, they loved BRaeMarketing. You know, they believed in him. So I think you need to know who your players are. I don't know the situation if they didn't like Chili at all. I think that Chili, there's two guys in that team. I thought he was good. I really thought that he was good hitting-wise, and he brought him back. He did really well. And in vibes, and then again, you saw the only guys that didn't hit were the two corner guys. And again, there's 25 guys, 17 hitters, can't blame it on two guys, but we'll see. And again, I don't see him doing it, but it'd be really interesting if Joe goes this season and starts 5-32. Do they have to?
What's interesting about that is that, after the season, I remember Theo saying that, all the staff that's all Joe. It's all Joe.
Yes.
Basically, so they fired John Fazio. Why are you doing that? His answer was running. It's saying, and they got to 1, 2, 3. It's like an NLCS, World Series 7. So it's like our situation. Very good. And they bring in a guy who's known for hitting, and they score water for 40 in the season. So I don't understand why those two trade. I think there's apparently a power struggle between Theo and Joe Mack. There's a lot of people that like he made it in the World Series here. He was talking about that.
Well, if you know managing, it's moves that you, and Joe's been critiqued for that cannabis moves. There's different types of managers. There's guys that are very active that try to make moves, extra moves to try to surprise the opponent. There's guys that make less moves to try to surprise the opponent. I think that's why there's different types of managers that jump around a situation, there's guys like Ozzy and tell you to tell them, yeah, that guy's hurt. Get out of my face. So there's just different ways, different personalities. Take your boss and work. There's bosses that are very direct, there's bosses that, they kind of like move around. That happens in every sport, but I think this is a funny thing. So you got Theo, who's a G. By the way, Theo's really cool. That's like, trying to give Theo a checkbox on the activity. He's been in that side for the golf for $300. So that he can ask the garbage, chat with, they win a World Series, but every GM has a positive problem and they have a negative one, just like everyone in life. But that would be my knock to him and their moves. But moving forward, I think that when you look at Joe, you have that he's been your guy. He's got that stat, but then they say situational hitting is not working. Situational hitting, with all the analytics and all the stats that you guys are at an analytical team, there's no algorithm or there's no tracker. There's nothing that you can give to the current hitting coach that you have and say, hey man, instead of swinging 0-2, maybe you go 2-2 and you might get a fastball. You might have a better shot to go to right field. Situational hitting is just like reading the right situation. The other part is, are the guys on your team buying into situational hitting?
That's the most important.
That's the most important thing, because I can have a guy like my biggest frustration, for example, with Baez. I'll give you an example of Baez. Like people are like, you hate him. I'm like, I don't hate him. I just know that with the game on the line, years before, he was just going for the fences. Horrible at bats. Different than when you get a guy like a Bodie or a Haven. They would give you better at bats. And then for me, the way that I analyze the game, I'd want to have a better at bat. Zobrist, the best in the game. I still blame the World Series. Terry Francona pitches to Schwarber. Fat Schwarber, who's dangerous. Skinny Schwarber, not so much. He pitches to him, doesn't pitch to Zobrist. He might be the World Series champ. Story might be a little bit different. But so I analyze those things. So because I know that I've been there. I've seen guys. There's guys that don't buy into that. There's guys that say, dude, I'm gonna hit, and that's it. And it's funny because when they talk about analytics, there's guys that got the analytics and say, I could care less what the analytics say. I'm just gonna go up there and play. And that happens a lot. You play pro, you play college. Sometimes when you feel comfortable doing something, even if the best coach in the world tells you like, Shawn, don't do it that way, do it this way. And it still feels so good comfortably, even doing it the bad way, that you're probably gonna keep doing it the bad way because it's just a comfort level that got you to that point. So you're gonna die with what your strengths are.
Answer who brought you.
Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna die with what your strengths are. So I think for players, I think that's the hardest thing. That's one of the biggest gaps between analytics, because analytics are telling you like, you have to do this. And I'm like, it's human nature. You don't have to do this.
There's so much to go in the field. So when you're a professional athlete and you reach a certain point, you said they got you there, and you tend to fall back on it because that's what you're comfortable with. Exactly. And you change that, now you start thinking. Now, especially if you want to start athlete want to do in the box. I want to know if I can do this, but I want to get into the right field because I want to run over, and I want. If you do that, now you next thing you know the ball's by him, and you're walking back, you're rung up, and you're walking back to the dugout. So putting that stuff in players' heads, could be very, very dangerous.
Well, back to the Latino thing. This is something really funny, and I love analytics. So I'm in Venezuela, winter ball. Ozzy's managing down there, and there's kids that come in from every organization. So it's really cool seeing like what organization teaches what. So we had a kid from a team out on the West Coast. I'm not gonna say what team, but this is funny because the kid just kept doing everything launch angle. Everything, every swing was like, and this guy's like 5'10", 180, 170, and he's just like popping up everything in the cage. And he's got a little thing, like a little chip on his bat at the bottom. And he's tracking his stuff. And I'm like, oh, what's all the track? So I'm asking him, like, I want to know if he knows how to read that. He keeps looking at it. And obviously, he's at least trying to learn how to read it, but I'm like, why? And he goes, well, I just got to worry about how I hit the ball hard and then my angle of the bat. And this is the guy that I'm hearing the hitting coaches, and Ozzy, who's got 40 plus years of experience in the game, saying this kid won't hit a $180 once he passes single A because he's too small. He's swinging like JD Martinez. JD Martinez is like 280, 6'4". So it's like asking Tom Brady to play the line. The skill set's not there. So it's funny because now I'm thinking, if I'm a general manager, I'm thinking of my teams. Who are we going to trade with? Because now I'm like trying to look at what all the minor league systems are doing, because if I'm like the Sox, the team that I follow the most, and I'm making a trade with X team, I'm like, oh God, that's a launch angle guy. So I'm scared of making moves because there's some guy going to come here that I have to break down completely.
Yeah, and it's time. It's time.
So that takes time. It takes time, and the comfort level is just crazy on how you do that. And again, that's something that the secret is going to be grabbing the information, which is analytics. The name for it is information, and being able to transpire to the players. And again, when it comes to Latinos, you got the language barrier. You got the learning barrier, you got them, and it happens with everybody because guys are stubborn. I'll give you an example on Ozzy. I asked Ozzy, he's a Walter Rainier guy, okay? And Ozzy lives and dies with Walter. Walter, every time he sees it, says, Walter, I love you, name me a rich man. And Ozzy bought into Walter's hitting, Frank, all those guys. I said, Ozzy, what happened when they fired Walter? He said, when the hitting coach came over, I said, dude, just throw me back in practice and know what I'm doing. He says, look, back at it now, it's a disservice because I didn't even give the guys those stands to help me out, and maybe something would have helped me out. Maybe would have kept me in the game a little bit longer. But Ozzy was a guy that was like set in his ways. Like if I'm going with this, and I'm sticking with it. And I think that's just human nature.
One of the things that we talked about before starting the show was about kind of how you look at college in the overall picture for baseball players. That's one of the things I was going to ask. Is it really beneficial, considering that Major League Baseball has a minor league system that's really well developed, and you have all these different leagues that players can play in? What's your thoughts in regards to if a kid should really consider going to college? Is it worth it?
I have an example at home. My brother Austin signs with the Chicago White Sox and was caught up in the drama between Ozzy front office. And I think looking back at everything, I think that he was kind of like he made a decision that it was based on not being happy with the team at the time, and he decides to go to college, and college is the worst thing that happened to him. College teams are there to win games. And college teams are not there to develop players. So when you're there, guys, they're throwing you 100 pitches, 150 pitches. They're trying to win an NCAA championship, and that's fine. But they're not there to develop it as a baseball player. So I think if a kid signs out of high school, I think that's you should go. And again, this is a situation about money. College is always going to be there. I think I've seen deals that have been brokered by great agencies and saying of like, you have to pay for my school for the next 20 years regardless of what happens to the team, and they put money aside for the school. But I think especially if you're a pitcher, if you sign out of high school, I think that you should go with the team. I would be scared. I've seen guys that got drafted and they didn't get drafted high enough, like Ozzy's example, and they went to go play 3 years of college and then they go undrafted, and they're signing as a free agent. It's a different game. I think that if your goal work-wise, if you're trying to get to big league baseball, get into the system as fast as possible. No one goes from college to go 25-man roster. They go from like single A, double A. So
Plus also depends on whatever college you go to. Because you talked about trading between organizations. If you go to a college and they teach a different philosophy than what you had, all of a sudden the guy that you're interested in might not be the guy that you're interested in when he's done playing college.
Exactly. That's something that happened to me. And again, I wasn't the greatest baseball player, but when I went to college, I knew. Again, I wish that I was a dumb, non-baseball person than I am, because I was like, this guy's crazy. This coach has no idea what he's doing. And I had credibility because I was like, what do you mean? I can't hit like that. I can hit. It's like with Frank Thomas. I asked Frank, how you go the other way? I'm like, Frank, but I can't hit him. I was like, yeah, I'm 11, 160 pounds. I'm the big hurt. So it's funny when guys like are talking to that they're like, oh my god, like look at go the opposite way, but how come so hit pounds? Because they're bigger. So it's just funny, like so coaches would be like back then it was like the pulls, it's called the L, lock in, you're only hitting pitches middle in. So I'm like, they're trying to teach me that. I'm like, oh my god, hitting's already hard enough as it is. Like going up there and hanging a bat, so them telling you like, hey, change it, and then you go from high school, they're throwing 80, you go to college, some kid's like 93 with a slider, you're like, oh my god, what is this? So it's just harder. I think you're putting too much things in their mind, and I think the best thing that happened about hitting coaches is that every parent out there is just spending money like crazy.
Yes,
to teach their kids like I got to see kids doing drills on one hand, 1 foot, and I'm like, wow, they're like, I'll give them a lesson, I'll teach them. I'm like, I'm a soft toss guy. Keep your head down, go through the ball, but there's just so many things out there you can do. And hitting is just something that some guys are just really good at it naturally, hand-eye coordination. I really believe in that you can go with it. And you can get better at that, but you don't have high-end coordination, depth perception, you're not going to be a very good hitter.
Oh, I agree. That's funny what you said that people can put a whole bunch of their kids in a whole bunch of different situations. I got a hitting coach, I got a speed coach, but I'm a speed coach as well. So you have different individual things to try and get you to do better, and it's just funny how.
Not knocking on that though. You're doing it like when you see my kid getting trained, don't be like, oh, you see Ozzy. No, I might do that just because I want to keep my kid busy. But if I'm just so he can do something, and if I'm there really telling the coach that you need to make my kid, a Division I athlete, I don't know if my kid's a Division I athlete or not. I'll look at him and it's like,
Good for you. Good for you, because some people refuse to do that.
And that's the thing about baseball. And it goes back again. When we compare, I sent a tweet out the other day about Ozzy. And I said, love him or hate him, before or after the game. In-game managing the game from the first inning till the game ends, 2% of the league might be better than him or just as good as him. MLB, in-game management, matchups. And this is with him not even embracing analytics at a full level. Like I'm watching him manage in winter ball and I'm like, oh my god, because the talent's out there, so he gets to do like crazier things like hitting runs and like just so in-game management is so much better now. So again, it's like in anything in life, like when you need to know what your strengths are and what you're not good at. And I think Alex, for example, the reason that I think he won back to manager of the year, why he was so good, was the team was so good that people didn't appreciate how good of an in-game manager he was. Telling, not only letting Chris Sale believe in him. I have a question. Do you think Chris Sale goes to the bullpen for another manager? In reality, like after all the issues that we face, Chris Sale goes to the bullpen, going on the money and saying like, I'm gonna throw in the 7th inning, coming off like.
I think it depends on who it is.
Exactly.
It depends on who it is.
So those are the things. So
not just anybody.
So like when Mark Burley puts his cleats on and says, I'm going to the bullpen. Not just because that happens doesn't mean that you're doing. You have to buy into the team. You have to buy into the staff. You have to buy into the manager. That your hands are in their hands. You're playing. It's like you're playing in football hurt. There's guys that are like, I'm playing with one arm. And then there's guys that are like, oh, I got a headache. I ain't playing.
I'm going to tell you something. If I was Chris Sale, I would have went to the bullpen too after having to deal with Ventura. I would have gone to the bullpen. I'm sorry.
Again,
I know I've just now seen a really good manager.
Well, that's
so I'm going to do what you asked me.
And again, managers, as a player, and I think as a manager, I think Alex reminded me a lot of Ozzy because he was a young guy. I think the hardest thing for Ozzy when he came to Sox Fest was, man, I'm like, I can be teammates with these guys. And he had to be like friends with them, and then he had to be like the disciplinary, the boss. And I think one of his struggles was, and Alex, we've talked about him, because people don't know this, Ozzy and Alex talk all the time about like, don't make these mistakes. Alex being able to, when he starts getting older, and the team starts not becoming there's a point that Ozzy had to become like the disciplinary. And you might lose your style of managing from that. So kind of like being able to stay the road, and that happens with your age. You're not the same at 43 as you are at 63. Players are changing, so it's being able to adapt with your team. And I think if I had to give Ozzy a negative, I think if you keep Ozzy with the same guys from 04, 05, that 05 core all the way through, no one gets traded, no one gets signed, everyone gets to stay at the same healthy, he might win 2-3 more. It started getting a little difficult. He started playing guys from the outside that didn't buy into the system. Then he was like a little uncomfortable in his own comfort. And we started seeing more issues of that. And that's something that Alex had to worry about now, second, third, fourth, fifth year.
In regards to the Red Sox choosing him, obviously he'd never been, a manager before in that capacity. What was it about him, or what does he feel was about him? They felt that he could step into that role with that team as it was, being you talked about his age and being similar, and be able to accomplish what he did.
You know what? I think that Alex is a real baseball guy, in the sense that he's a guy that he's not faking it. And I think when he was a player, he was a role player. I love role players as managers, because when you're a role player, you kind of get to sit back, and that's like the David Ross. That's what they're thinking about David Ross. Difference is David Ross is only a good role player here, not another team that went. That's different. He's a positive teammate, great role model. Alex comes from family of baseball, so I think that before this whole analytical thing got really big, and it's a travesty. It's a shame that he's not managing a Major League Baseball team with Joy Cora. Because as much as people say that Ozzie didn't believe in analytics, Joy Cora had more information than anybody needed. There's nobody in baseball that had more information than Joy when he was working. I still believe that no one prepares himself as much as a coach that I've seen more than Joy Cora. So they come from that family of like, they eat, they breathe, they know baseball. And it was just a win-win, because everyone knows Alex is very like, speaks perfect English, speaks perfect Spanish. Again, Ozzie's English, the communication, some people, get a little, it's a different type. Alex went to college. People are like, man, people talking about the time, Ozzie, your English is so good. I'm like, I went to school. I'm like, I went to school. Like, I took the SAT, and it's like my father has sixth grade education in Spanish. So the fact that he can even speak another language and read it, it's like mind blowing. Like, I taught it himself. So that's the part that, yeah, that's a fact. So the fact that Alex was prepared with the college and, education, and again, he knew how to do the game. He played for a great program in Miami, because of big leaguer. I think that if you had to write a career path on how to become a Major League manager, I think he did it. And he got even better when he went to TV and got to express himself. It's funny because they asked him all these media questions to try to trip him up. Like, we knew that the Trump was going to come up. Are you going to the White House? He was forewarned. They're going to ask you this. But he knows that. He worked in media. So he can say, you know what? We'll talk about that later. And I think both managers, I've never seen two better, more sincere managers get asked harder questions during the World Series and then both be really good about it.
So, obviously, when Ozzie went down to the Marlins and he had an unfortunate thing he said, do you think that was really more of not being able to communicate properly?
No, I think that was just Miami being hypocritical.
Well, because I understand.
I think, by the way, the crew population there is less than like 10%. And that's something that, if Bill Maher has a great YouTube video talking about what Ozzie said, the whole storyline. And people,
that one thing.
they just grabbed the tagline and they went with it. And Ozzie, I think that the part that people got him even more was because he felt guilty because of the friendship that he had with Cubans. People don't know this. My middle name is Eduardo, and I'm the only one not named after anybody in baseball. My dad was raised. His parents got divorced when he was young. He went to a reformatory. The reformatory was run by a priest that took him out. The priest was from Cuba. So my dad was raised by a Cuban priest for 7 years of his life. So then he's got players, to this day, his really good friends, Contreras, Duque, guys that he's known for baseball for a long time. Even he lives in Miami, like his neighbor, his buddy that he goes with every day is Cuban. So he felt guilty that he was like, man, I said this, I don't want my friends to feel bad, I'm gonna go apologize, and then they just jumped on him. They took his money, and it is what it is, and I think that was a perfect excuse for the Marlins to say, let's fire you, but again, it was freedom of speech. If he would have gotten up, I think guys have said I think he said way worse things. I think he said some things in Chicago that I was like, oh my God, that was like,
but we loved it for some
I was like,
reason.
oh, that's not good. But again, times have changed, but I think it's funny and it's sad because in the world that we're living in today, there's guys that are in higher positions that say worse things.
Oh, of course.
But Ozzie can't do it. The sad thing is, Ozzie's never been caught with drugs, he's never gotten beaten, his wife. So if you're gonna say you're not in baseball because Ozzie would rather have somebody grab the phone and say, you're not in baseball because you suck. He would say, you know what? That's okay. But when these things are like, he would be, that's okay. Because in his heart of hearts, well, he would be like, you're full of it. You're full of it.
So,
because I'm better than.
All right, good. Okay.
Because I'm better than this guy. It's like in anything in life.
Right.
You say, man, I'm better than that guy. I'm better than that guy. I'm better than that guy. And that happens then. But I think it's hard when they're like, you're not in baseball because of something that you did, when in reality you didn't really mean it that way. And if you're worried about dictators, like China is a communist country, right?
Yes, it is.
Last time I went to Walmart, everything in Walmart was Chinese.
You're not supposed to pay attention to these things.
That's what I'm saying, though. So when you're walking down that thing, you're like, okay, you can't talk about this, but so it's just like an oxymoron. And it's funny because when I came to do the show today, there's someone wrote an article that was talking about baseball, saying baseball is the whitest sport in America.
Not at all.
Well, it is. In reality, when you look at statistics,
Well,
it is.
kids
Well,
growing up
from-
playing,
okay, yeah,
Not
okay.
in baseball, not in the majors.
Oh,
but
okay,
in-
I'm sorry. Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying there's a mistake though. Talking about people playing, not people of ownership, not people of decision making. Okay. So when you look at the numbers of segregation to the numbers now, without including players, and you have less than a 5% increase, like getting better, those are not great numbers. And again, if you want to talk about the socioeconomics thing, baseball is a sport that's passed from father to son. You know, and why people are always like, oh, why are there not many African Americans? I'm like, well, the whole father-son thing, that's another thing. It's expensive. You know, kids are just not exposed to the game. You know, social media is just an expensive sport. And then you got the whole Latino part of it that they're just playing because it's just a way out. People don't talk about. And these are things that Ozzy, they wanted to keep him quiet. Like, not keep him quiet, but they're like, this guy's not good for us. And that's something that for him it's very hard because he feels like he is someone that has to do these things. 6,000 kids apply to the draft in Venezuela July 2nd. Okay? Venezuela, Dominican, Colombia. Out of those guys, 600 of them get signed. Less than 3% of them make it to the big leagues. You know what age these kids sign when they come out of those countries? 16. And then most guys are released by the time they're 18. So then they go back to Latin America and 60% of the time they can't find jobs. They turn to a life of crime. It's like a cycle, but no one in Major League Baseball is opening that. So that's a part, and it's crazy because when the whole Ozzy and Latino thing, when he won, there was like a guy from like Nicaragua. He's like, why is there a guy from Nicaragua here? And I said, you're the first Latino manager to manage in a World Series. And this is a huge thing just in sports in general. And he was like, I don't want to be the best Latino manager, I want to be the best manager, period. And now looking back, he's like, man, I should have embraced this, but this is like a big deal. And when he took the trophy to Venezuela, you know, it's funny because I wish they would have been communists because Chavez, I would have stolen money, you know, living this crazy life. I would have like 2 private planes, but that's not the case. So it's like funny because he's like caught in these 2 roads, like he's not. They're like, you're not American enough, and then in Venezuela they're like, you suck, you're a Yankee, like you're an American, you're like a traitor,
Right.
like you're not a communist enough. So it's like a weird thing for him. So he's like caught in this middle road. He's like in the twilight zone. He's like, yeah, it's like I'm like on both sides, and I don't even know where to go because I can't make either side happy. But I think with Alex, I think it's also hard because Alex being like a Puerto Rican child is great, but like looking for opportunity. I'm the first African American here. I might be the second most enthusiastic. If he knows out about it that way, and says, look at me, look at me, look at me, you're like, oh, you know. So like, and it's even sad. You have to like go like around, like you can't be proud. Like you can't be proud of like people are like, why are you for Paul? You know, he's black. It is like that's it, and it's cool for me. But I'm saying because I knew it was gonna be a big deal for the game. Like man, because people don't realize it's gonna be a kid. You know what I mean? I can't be proud of all. Or just if you're playing, I can't be out. I can't be out. So that's something that is a mindset thing that I admire Kenny Williams because never did Kenny and a color general manager. Man, that's awesome. So those are things that it goes beyond the game. It's called like cultural impact that people, the Major League Baseball doesn't really know. Like maybe Ozzy talks a little bit better English or his delivery of the message is a little bit better. They might understand it a little bit more. But he's like, I think comes like the Muhammad Ali radical. It is funny because I watched the show The Shot from LeBron James, and a couple of players were talking about like how LeBron for many years was not considered a man because he was very shy. He didn't want to say like, I'm LeBron. You know, Michael from the beginning was like, I'm the best player, but like, yeah, I'm the best person. Sometimes it's your attitude. And he talks about that, like now he's a father, and that's changed me. Because I wrote a letter, and I showed it to my daughter one day, on how I was proud, but I understood the struggles that she was going to face. Because I didn't have any sisters. So issues about women working in sports, to me was like, yeah, they should, but I didn't really think about it, like getting paid less. Those are all things that get out of the little world that we love in, and I was very like, I hope that you can break barriers like your grandfather has, because he has, you know. He broke barriers when he was a Latino player, and I think as a manager, so I think as a player, I think when you put on the uniform, like you saw it right now, like if you go on Twitter, you see all the Latino players are like going crazy about the Andujar thing and the JD Martinez. They're kind of stepping up for each other, but I think that if this was like 1960s, people would be like, wow, this is awesome. But since like you're allowed to play in the league, like
Right.
whoa. Don't have an opinion. Again, we go into, it's like funny, like the whole beating thing, getting hit,
Yeah.
you can't throw your bat. Like I'm like, you're getting paid millions of dollars. They hit a home run off of you, like I'd be like, great. It's not like your paycheck's getting deducted.
Right.
So for me as a player, that never bothered me. So that's like when you're getting culturally, like things are not, and players get that, man. Like players are like the MLB's playing in Japan. They're like, well, why don't they come play like in Venezuela? So that's why the league, in that sense, does those type of things. But I think as a Latino player manager, you always have a responsibility athlete that you know that you have to be there for the future, but you always have to voice your opinion on what's right and what's wrong. And people don't get mistake. Ozzy went through 3 strikes. He's been through a lot of wars, so he knows the league pretty well.
Where do you see, as we know, Latino players are a big influence now. Where do you see them going from here? I know the All-Stars in '06, I was looking up, it was 23 of 71 All-Stars were Latino. Now, you see more and more, not just players, but you see them moving into the front office because you see them being decision makers, because that's really where a lot of the money's made, is your decision making.
I really hope so. So, and there's 2 types of Latinos, and we talked about this.
Yes, we did.
So, and people are going to get mad at me because I'm going to say this. So there's 2 types of Latinos. There's Latinos like me, Ozzy Guillen Jr. My parents are from Venezuela. Yes, I might have grown up in Venezuela, but I'm not from Venezuela. I went to school in the American system. I took an SAT, I took an ACT. I speak the language very well. I know analytics. I can get groomed. I work in corporate America. So we're like, can you work in a baseball front office? I'm like, yes, I can. I work in a Fortune 10 company. Like, I can work for a Major League Baseball team. Like, calm down. But so there's someone like my father, 6th grade education, like most players, barely finished high school. Can they have a path to becoming a GM? So is Major League Baseball offering that education to a Latino player? So if a Latino player retires now, so if Ozzy's like, okay, great, you don't think I'm analytical? Can I take a class on what you guys want to teach me? Because we sit with Ozzy and be like, okay, this is what analytics is. Oh, and it's funny because he's like, oh, but this is this, like launch angle. So he's like, launch angle is basically saying the bat flies off the ball. And I'm like, yes. Some kid put a number to that. And when they're talking about spin, he's like, oh, that's like if the curveball snaps. So it's like, it's funny like seeing both things. But it's like, what you offer someone like my brother, like Angel Johnson, my cousin, graduated at 16, signed. He's played, he's getting into his 30s. When he retires, is he going to get a chance to be able to go into a front office and get a front office job without a degree from Harvard or Yale or Brown? Which I think it's funny, these guys are like, I'm from Brown. I'm like, why are you interning at this baseball? You really must like baseball.
Right.
And it's hard. It's because you could be working, and that's the reality of it. So I think it's a double-edged sword. The route that I did, I would love to work in a front office and help the team win. Again, it's like politics, working in a job. And I like this side of the stuff. I analyze it. Consulting sounds great. But I really hope that for players, I really hope that those doors are open because there are going to be more players. I hope that the league expands, always. But I think there's going to be better players because of the way they prepare themselves. But I think for the next level, I would love to see better prepared Latinos and men of color to get prepared on both ends, front office and big league jobs, not just the guys that were born and raised here in the United States.
Yeah, I think it's important because when you get guys, like people who, they may not have the formal education, but you have that baseball knowledge. And there's nothing that you can study analytics all you want. Okay, but when you have baseball knowledge and you're brought up, it doesn't matter if it's baseball, football, basketball, when you're brought up and that's the sport that you played, there's an instinct that you have. And you can give certain people all the numbers in the world, but you're like, you know what, you go back. Like, no, but he's not, I need him to bat. I have this feeling. And that's something that's intangible that they bring that the statisticians don't. Say, well, the numbers say this, it doesn't matter about the numbers because baseball, when you're dealing with people in sports, there's numbers, but people have habits, people have tells, people have certain things, and you can see a certain thing about a player, you can see a certain thing about a coach the same thing, they do the same thing. So when you have that feeling, it's very important because people who played a certain sport for a long time and that's their true love, they'll have a little more knack, a little more instinct about making certain moves than just statisticians. And that's why I hope more people of color, more especially Latinos, get front office gigs. They can say, I see this kid, and someone, a statistician might say, well, yeah, he's this and this, and I don't really like this. Like, yeah, but you know what? We can do something. I see something in him because it reminds me of.
How you can relate.
Well, and that's the hard part, I think, because I went to scout school. People were like, I went to scout school. I graduated from scout school in 2012, got my diploma, and looked at that thing. I got like the highest level you can get. Like, I did really well in scoring. But I knew baseball, and to me, I grew up around it, so I needed to go to school to formalize my training because I knew these guys wrote reports and they did that. So this is the funny part. There's a part I think that is the negative to, not the negative, the Achilles heel to statistician guys. And that's what I think where guys like Kenny Williams are very dangerous, meaning in their job. I can learn all the stats and all the books, and I can learn all that. But can I learn the 40 years that Ozzie Guillen, for example, has, or Joe Madden? I can't learn it. I can't hold Joe's hand and say, Joe,
Right.
give me the the million of innings that you've watched of baseball.
Yep.
So that's where I think that that even for Ozzie, for example, when people are like, why is he managing? I'm like, Ozzie can help with an organization, and we've talked about this in any aspect. Ozzie can come in and be like, that kid, okay, those stats says those two guys are good. I'll take that guy. And his percentage is really high because he's seen enough baseball. So it's using these guys, not because you can walk around in a briefcase, it's using these guys and getting information from them as best as possible. But I think that's the part that guys with experience, I think, can start using that to their advantage, of guys that learning the game afterwards. Like Alex did that. I know the game, but I want to learn the stats. And we share books and read this and read that and learn that. Because again, it's getting yourself prepared for the game evolving. And when someone can do both, I'm a person of strategy. I love strategy. That's the thing I like about football, is because I'm learning how to understand the game, and I played it. But there's so much strategy in it, and the coaches managing against one another. In baseball, when you talk to Ozzie and you talk to Joe and Mike and Bruce, they want to manage against the computer because the computer's more predictable than someone. The predictable is not going to squeeze against you in the first inning, like Joe Madden. You're like, whoa, Joe, like, whoa, like, okay, my pitcher's tired. Joe knows that. The other team doesn't know that. So when you start doing the intricacies of like the game and the strategy, when you go too analytical, especially for short series, because this is funny, playoff time, throw the analytics away. Because the analytics were built for 162 games. There's no analytics that tell me like a 5-game series, the lights are on, everybody's scared, there's no analytics for that. So Dave Roberts should have been like, man, Jansen looks tired, he looks scared. Like his heartbeat is not normal. Like the doctor said, he's got a weird heartbeat. That's like, maybe he's not the guy. Again, he went with the analytics, it cost him. It is what it is. So I think that a world where they both exist, and I think it's funny because I think corporate America is so ahead of the game. And I'm in corporate America now, and I work in corporate America because they're like, you get it, you can talk to people, you have a feeling. The analytics, we can teach you that. Like, we got these two guys that can't do what you do. Let's work together. So I think that's where baseball is like right now, analytics, and I think that they're going, guys like Billy are trying to go back and say, whoa. Everyone's always looking for the edge.
Right.
So I think that the edge is going to have to go back to guys with experience, and if you have a combination of both, I think that you're...
But it seems like sabermetrics to a degree is almost a detriment to the game in the sense that if that's what organizations are going to use to drive their decision making and how to build a team, and if you're also using that to figure out how you want to develop a player, then to me, that's a detriment overall because there's nothing organic about it. And to me, baseball is organic.
Well, here's the thing, and this is a funny thing. So you can get a sabermetric guy, an analyst, for $40,000, and he can spit something out and say, and it's funny because now you look at the GM meetings and you're like, Shawn, I want to trade for Madrigal. And then I'm the GM, and you look back. You look back and you look to see what the kid types in.
Is he good?
Yeah, is he good? Okay. Before the guy's like, I'm the GM, like, I'm telling you like if he's good or not. You're not telling me.
Right.
And that's the part that's like funny in the inner circles of baseball. Like, everyone's always asking somebody. But you can pay that person $40,000-$50,000 and it's cheap. Or you can pay, there's guys in baseball now that something is very dangerous when you're rich and you're smart. Because you're not going to take as much BS as someone that's not rich and not smart.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it. If I was like at work, like I wish I could be like, I'm over with this, I'm done. I'm gonna go do X, Y, and Z and walk out. I can't do that. Ozzie, he can do that. Because financially, so I think that's why the game is changing when you see guys that are like the social devotion that make so much money and have been so successful to guys that haven't because they can control it more.
We talked baseball overall, we talked some Cubs, and we didn't talk White Sox, but I guess we cannot exit this without having the conversation of what you see with this organization. Obviously, doing a change of pace, working from, their minors to bring up players, but it doesn't, to me, 2019 is not in the cards. It may be a bit longer, but tell me what your thoughts and how the season ended and what you see moving forward.
Well, it's always in the cards because the game is decided in between the lines and anything can happen. And again, the odds are there, they're against them, but anything can happen between the lines. I think that the game, I look at the positives. I think that the number one positive, the guy who changed my whole perspective on me viewing him was Tim Anderson. I actually went into the year being like, move this guy to center field. He's not very good at shortstop. Completely changed my mindset. Said he was going to be 2020. Did it. So I like that aspect. I think that he's a guy that cares. The Moncada, I was very disappointed. I think he was going to have a better year.
Yeah.
Not because he's not a good player, because we gave up Chris Sale for him.
Yes.
So those are the things that, like, I don't care how good, like, he could be an average guy and do what he does every year right now, but if I would trade him for somebody else, but I traded Chris Sale. So I'm hoping that you're like, whoa, like, you're like legit. So that's something that, again, on that negativity when it comes to that. When you look at Matt Davidson, I was hoping for better from him. I was expecting him to blow up. I was expecting Matt Davidson to be powerful.
Okay.
So I didn't get Davidson because we weren't expecting Palka. So I didn't get Davidson, so I got Palka. So now it's a sophomore year. And I think that the pitching, looking at the pitching, I think that the way that the game is changing is actually going to help the White Sox. Because there's guys that might not be 5, 6, 7, 8 starters. Homer, for example. But there might be guys that are going to be really good 3, 4, 5 guys. You know, like a Josh Hader type of guy. So if like some reason Kopech comes back in 2 years and his arm's not as strong to throw 7 innings, but he can throw every other day, throw 2 or 3, I'll take that. I'll take that to make my team better. I love the situation with the catchers. Unfortunately, even though he doesn't see Wellington's coming back, he's probably in that position. I really like how these guys are developing. But again, I think that the hardest thing right now for that team is to make the moves that you don't need. I saw like a rumor about Nelson Cruz out there. I was like, ooh, Nelson Cruz, like almost 40. That's a typical,
How does that fit in?
Like, how does that fit in? Like, I think, but again, like, you want, like, it might work, it might be there. So I think that right now, I know that they're sitting on money, but just being able to spend that money wisely. And I think again, there's a lot of free agents out there that are very, that look great.
Such as?
Well, such as Bryce Harper.
Okay.
No, it's great because it's funny because I have a huge number 34 with diamonds in it. And Freddie Garcia gave it to everybody when he signed. Obviously came to the Sox. Now I'm like, I'm not even number 34 and I have this diamond sitting there. And I'm like, the only person that would buy this
Jeez, that's just
would be a baseball player. So I was like, this kid probably doesn't have enough money yet, but I'll probably have to like, bring the price up. But I'm like, Harper definitely got the money. Harper signs here, take that 35. I'll be like, hey, you want to buy this?
I feel that he's the right fit because.
And that's the thing.
Is he the right fit?
Is he the right fit? And again, if you take either or, either guy, you're spending a lot of money. So are you comfortable enough this early in the process to go and say, okay, we're going to put this guy in this position? Because we don't know where Elo's even be. Like, Elo's like, everyone's like, he's going to be a right fielder. He might come out and be like, he's a better left fielder, or he's a better first baseman, for any reason. So I think that making that big of a financial commitment, it's not like things are not going to come around again.
True.
You got Arenado the year after that. So I think that staying put and playing with guys like, I'm against it, the James Shields signing back, not because I hate James Shields, I don't have anything against it. I'd rather see a guy that's like a AAA guy in 8 innings.
Hello, thank you.
She's not a big thing.
Like, put that to bed.
Like bullpenning,
put it to bed. Put it to bed.
I'm like, try it. You know what? Try it. Like, so bringing a guy in and making that much money.
If you're going to lose, at least put somebody in that role with authority to developmental piece.
And I think it's funny when they say, well, he's a mentor, and I'm like,
no, he's not.
And then bring Rendon up. I'm like, Rendon's been in the league for like 6 years now. Like, I think I think he can handle it. Yeah. So again, I think that it's not like not everyone in the staff is like first year in the big leagues. But again, if he was there to mentor and guide them, like, because they're about to win, getting guys prepared to that. And again, if they bring him back to the league minimum, I might not care. But like, at least they didn't pick up his option, which is a lot of money. But I think the Sox right now, I would like them to see. So this is the funny part. My biggest concern this year was that they didn't get to the number of wins that I wanted.
I agree.
A lot of us.
I think I was like, man, like, because I had him like at least 75. I was like, 80 would be great.
Right.
Because 80, you're only 10 away from 90. So you're like 2 pitching stats, 2 guys away. Like, you get
a couple bounces here and there.
Yeah. So people are like, I'm not thinking about the World Series.
No.
The World Series, people are like, that's to the Cubs. I'll leave that to the Cubs. I'm not even thinking about.
Because the window's not fully open yet.
Yeah, it's not. But I'm thinking about from a financial standpoint. I think the team benefits if you're in a playoff race. More people come to the games. It's more fun. You get more news.
Winning is contagious.
It's also great for free agents because you're like,
Yes.
ooh, the White Sox. Like, that sounds great. Like right now, Baltimore, they're like, if I go to Baltimore, that means I'm 1 year away from getting kicked out of this league. It's like the Tampa Bay.
It used to be Kansas City.
It used to be Tampa.
Sorry.
It
I'm
used to
sorry.
be Tampa.
Sorry, Hirsch. Sorry about that.
When did you know your career was over? He goes, when Tampa Bay got me in spring training. I was like,
Yes.
I'm the worst. I got cut from the worst team in the league. I think it's time to go home. But again, so you start creating that free agent bias.
Yes.
Again, like there's like interesting signings out there. And I mentioned it on Twitter. And I don't like talking a lot about the Sox on Twitter because people take it the wrong way because they still see me as Ozzy's kid. And I'm like, I'm not in the clubhouse. I'm like, I'm just providing as much information as any other person. Like I have friends, but I'm just giving my perspective of like the knowledge that I have of 34-year-old. Like this is what is there. So like Moose.
Yes.
It's a free agent. coming to the Sox for if you can get him for an affordable price,
Okay.
might fix your third base problem.
Okay.
Yeah, it would.
It would. So there's guys out there that are free agents that might not be like a $500 million signing, $400 million, but
But it doesn't mean they're not good.
that doesn't mean that they're not good. So I think that right now is like where you grab your analytics and use them. Like LeMahieu is going to be another guy that's going to be in the market.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right field. So, you put it in there's a lot of options out there, and I think that you kind of solidified those. I haven't taken off the table. Do you move someone like Moncada? Do you put Moncada in the market and see if someone takes and bites and gives you back? Again, those are things that I think right now nothing's off the
Moncada,
table.
Abreu, there's a list of
I'm
things
surprised of the.
that we can entertain.
I'm not
for this.
surprised of the Avi move.
No,
I'm not at all.
Because I think that it's an odd place for him. Because again, I think it was between Avi and Abreu,
Yes.
and I think Abreu is like you can keep him and get more for him later.
Yes.
And you're not kind of clogging up a spot because you got Palka, Abreu. You're kind of like doing that little mix there, and Eloy's going to come up after like in April sometime when he comes in, and he's got to play every day. So
Plus you have a lot of the deepest position we have in the because I'm a Sox fan, diehard Sox fan, is the outfield. I mean, you still got Blake Rutherford. I mean, you got Adam Engel, who's if he can get 10 more points on his average, there's no way to move him out of center field. There's goal consideration. You have Eloy, you have Luis Robert, you have one of the Juan Luis Casabe, Micker Adolfer. You have a whole bunch. You have a good 5 or 6 guys who still have Charlie Tilson. So you have a whole bunch of guys in that outfield who can still play. And so I can see why they made that move, why they're putting Avi on the block.
Yeah,
so you have tons of
makes sense.
talent.
and you know what Avi's going to give you. So again, and you're like, I know what Avi's going to give you. Like you don't know. So for example, Engel. If you put Engel on the Red Sox, he looks way better.
Yes, he does.
If you put Engel in the Orioles, you're like, ooh, like oh no.
It's all about
no.
perception.
So it's perception.
I
So
agree.
like if you put
Yes.
a guy in a like
The right
like
situation.
the best outfielder for the Cubs is I think in baseball is Almora.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
yes.
and he should be playing somewhere every day.
Every day, I agree.
But for the Cubs, he works for that way. So it depends on what team that you work on. So I think Engel would be a guy that he is the center fielder for that team. I don't think anybody's even close to him. But I think if you put guys around him, that Engel's like, you put Ozzie Guillen in the 1993 team, he looks really good hitting ninth. Like, you put Ozzie Guillen leading off in the 87 team, you're like, it was only Ozzie. Like,
Yeah.
that was it. So
Right.
it depends on where you're at. So if you're going to build around guys, who's going to be your guy? And the only reason that I would love the Harper Machado move is if you sign him for like long years is because Eloy's not going to come up and feel like he's a man. So I don't know him personally.
Okay.
So there's Eloy, and I met him one time, and he seemed like a very normal, calm
Down to
kid.
earth. Right.
And there's guys that are like that, and he'll come up and he'll play. He won't care what the media's saying. He won't think that he is the guy. I think, for example, Beckham, Gordon, bought himself. He bought himself into the hype.
Yes, he
They're
did.
like, you're gonna be the next Derek Jeter. He was like, I gotta be Derek Jeter. People are like, dude, like just
you.
be you. Just no, build to that.
Right.
Don't think you're gonna hit 380 like right away. Like build yourself to that. Every day get better. And I think that was pressure on him. And I think that you can go talk about him, talk about a bunch of White Sox prospects. I think when you have to be the guy, and then that team, they had won 2008. They were like trying to still win, so that he was expecting like he was gonna be the savior. I think with Eloy, I think if he had somebody around him, and I think that Bray would be. I'm glad that he's still around. Like, dude, this is not your team. Like, I'll carry them. When we're struggling, it's on me. It's not on you. You work on you every day. I think that's a key thing for the front office and for the manager to do. Ricky's saying, hey, you're the man.
So, and speaking about Ricky, is he the right fit?
Well, he is. He's the manager.
Well, it doesn't mean he's the right fit.
No,
though.
well, you know what? I was surprised they extended him.
You and me both, and it was a secret when they did it.
But I'm surprised. You know what? I'll take that back. I'm surprised that I was surprised. Now I'm not. I was surprised because I think that they would have made that public. I think from a marketing standpoint
Yes.
too, I think the team was benefiting from all the rumors. It kind of created excitement. Like, ooh, like in 2 years it's going to be Omar. Does Ozzy come back? Is it AJ? Is it Rowan? Who is it? Like
Girardi.
Is it Girardi?
Yes.
Like people are like making lists of
Yes.
like, what's the White Sox connection? Like, somebody's married to someone's second cousin who's a White Sox fan. You're like, what? Yeah, like he'll come manage here. Like just hearing all these crazy rumors. So okay, you gave it to him. So obviously you believe in this coaching staff. You believe in the manager. He's the guy. And right now, if you're a player, you're like, man, how long did he get extended for? Because he's a guy. So like now you can be like, you better sit down because I'm here for the next X amount of years. Here's the difference. He was getting paid really well. So firing a manager at 1 point something million and firing a manager making 4 million is a big difference. Especially when a guy, so like for example, Alex, the guy who was at home watching the World Series was getting paid more money than Alex. So the Red Sox were paying more guy to a guy staying at home than the guy was making. Ozzie Guillen, he was at home, the guy from the Marlins. So it's just different situations when it comes to contract and when it comes to manager. That's just something that the nature of the game changed. But is he the right? Is he the right guy?
He's right now.
He is right now. Like you can't. If I think this is a big year for Ricky, and again, that's why I'm surprised they extended him so quickly and pulled the trigger on that. Because you're the decision maker if he gets fired or not as the general manager for office. And everyone's been talking about how he's the guy. If your guys don't develop under you,
There you go.
then now you're tied to somebody, and you're like, oh my god.
Because they seem to be at certain points of the season, they seem to be
Yes.
progressing, and so. But also, it's very difficult to assess him because of the fact that there's still a whole bunch of other people you're still waiting. You're still waiting for a lot of other people. Now you have Kopech, who's out until 2020, so that really hurts your development, the ability to assess him. He hasn't been up yet. So once all the pieces, for the most part, get here, I think that's when you really can say, okay, now the clock is on him, and we can really and truly assess what he's doing.
2020 is very close.
It's very.
When people are like 2020, 2021, I'm like, so maybe the fans is one belief, but maybe the team's like 2020 is not the year.
It's not.
2021 is not. No, I'm saying from a front office, like when you're in there, you're like, 2020 is not like. So you got your timeline. So they don't have to come out and be like, well, this is not our year. This is, obviously.
They can't say that.
They can't say that. Well, they've done that in the past and it hasn't worked out for them. So, and I'm surprised, and I knew why they did it. Maybe they didn't want to get into a situation, but Ricky's not that guy. And Ricky's not the guy that won a World Series. Like the situation with Ozzie and the fighting of like, oh, you got to pay me money. And the reason Ozzie was saying that was because he knew that he was going to get fired. Like he knew. People don't realize that he knew the inner workings of what was happening. That they had hired Robin. He's been there forever. He knew. So he was like, I got to get paid. This is my livelihood. And again, he knew that there was a lot of offers, Cubs, Marlins, a lot of great jobs opening up. And he was like, well, I'm not going to get paid here. I got to go work somewhere. You know what I mean? So people are like, oh, Ozzie's no longer a manager and he's on the biddies. I'm like, well, he got a really nice payday from the Marlins.
Yeah.
Because for the money he was asking to come back to Chicago, people don't realize, this is how crazy Ozzie is about the White Sox. And I did not agree with this at the time. He was asking to come back for the same amount of money that he was making, which was like a couple zeros away, like millions. So it was like same contract for two more years, like 1 year extension, which was nothing, or a 4-year contract, $14 million. And he was willing to come back to the Sox. I'm like, you're crazy. Like this is not nothing's guaranteeing you. Like after they fire you, like other teams will take you. Because that's the other thing. That's the other thing with managers. Like managers right now.
He's not.
I'm saying no, like managers might think like you might be like I might be a GM one day and be like, Shawn, you're my guy. Like I'm riding with you. Like you're my guy, and like I will die with you. And that he writes your ticket. Kenny with Ozzie. Without Kenny, Ozzie might not be a big league manager. He might be Joy Cora, some really smart baseball dude running around, but that was his guy. So you need to have someone say, this is my guy. Like you go from being like David Ross, like being like a backup, to like nobody knows you, to like you won a World Series, you're friends with the players, they say you're cool, dancing with the stars, you're like a cult, now you're the smartest guy in baseball, you're gonna manage the Chicago Cubs, you're like, whoa, like what? That happened in 4 years. So like the mystique that you create, you need people saying this is the guy. This is the guy that's gonna be the guy. So I think from a managing standpoint, the White Sox are saying Ricky is our guy, and I think that was a message they sent to all the clubhouse and everybody there saying, and that's a good thing because now, let's say Ricky, for example, I'm just going to put an example. Moncada does not run, and Ricky starts having more issues with Moncada, and Ricky says, I cannot manage Moncada. Then the White Sox say, okay, we need to get rid of so-and-so. And that's the part that with the talent, all the kids are coming up and saying, this is the guy. And that's what I think. And again,
and that's good that they did do that because now the kids coming up and they may have an issue, they may have a chip on their shoulder, they may think I'm the goods, and the manager still runs that team. And if he tells you to run, you need to run. If he tells you to do something, you need to do something. And if they do something like that, and they get rid of a guy that he has an issue with, and it sends ripples through the minors like, okay, that's their dude.
But that was a hard thing with Ozzie, I think, and people took it as cockiness. Like, I think that when you've been there, Ozzie's he's like, dude, I played here 14 years. Like, I want to look at the World Series thing. Like you're not gonna come here and tell. I don't care what prospect you are. And that's something that people don't get. And they're like, oh, they were jealous. I'm like, it's not jealousy. It's the guy's like, I don't care who you are. You got to prove yourself.
Right.
And that's the reality. Like when you're a guy like that, like you got that much command and respect. That's why those guys, those big name managers, are like, dude. And especially if you're a good baseball player, that's just hard to find because you're like, dude, like get it together. Like you're like, oh, I can't play. Like you're weak. Like I used to play 152 games. Like just crazy things like that that are like more of on a personal level. As like I'm not the manager, I'm like a competitor, and I'm like looking on you. Like so, I think that with Ricky, they needed to send that message like he is the guy. So when Ricky walks around the facilities, no one's like, oh, he won't be here next year. It's Omar or is this guy? It's like no, it's Ricky. And the fact that they haven't made it public, he can only be extended for a year. We don't know. But that's the message that they've sent, and that's the message that they're on. And again, like Rick Hahn's the guy making decisions, and they made that all very clear. And again, I think that he is their guy. Same coaching staff again. There might be a time in Chicago where Rick might have a job and not Joe, which will be very interesting.
That'll be interesting.
It will. It will. And again, Ricky's nickname when he was with the Marlins was a secret weapon. He was a secret weapon. He was a Marlins player in 1993, I think, the expansion year. Yes. So that's, I think him being the guy, I think that they love him. I think that he's very good in the media before and after the game. I think that his only knock is the X's and O's, and from what the X's and O's in-game situations. And from what I've gathered, I think the players really like him.
Well, see, this is all wrong stuff right there. Because the X's and O's matter. And there's people like you because you're bad at your job, that's even worse. And it doesn't matter if you can stand in front of the media and give the right answers.
Well,
this does not equate to me into, most of all, building a winning culture from the inside out. There's a lot of things missing to me with that.
Winning culture, and this is my problem when, again, the negativity column, when it comes to Ricky, like negativity column.
Getting thrown out of games.
Well, I'm just saying people are like, well, you know what's funny? I looked at the list of Ozzy when he got kicked out of games. The only year he got kicked out a bunch of times was 5 times in 2007. Every other year he only got kicked out twice a year. He just did it in like really big games, like Cubs, Sox. So just like, and when he did it, he would stay there and it'd be like a show. But he didn't get kicked out that many times. Comparing like craziness, Ricky gets kicked out a lot.
Yes.